Go best friend. Go best friend. Go best friend. All right. We got to talk about some important things here because we are entering the end of your super macro POI, which is your most important POI in the entire algorithmic repeating sequence. So, three things I want to go over today. Quickly, I want to keep this video under 10 minutes. First is going to be talking about spoofing real quick, that tweet I put out last week and how it's an issue. Secondly, I want to go over the structure of what we're currently in quickly. I'll do it on AMC and GME while briefly touching on the January fractal that ran in May and the acquisition of TD Bank from Charles Schwab and why I believe that was the underlying reason of the January fractal playing as it played, and consequently them making sure that Roaring Kitty tweeted at the exact same time so they could talk about him on CNBC and not what was actually going on behind the scenes at Schwab. Remember, I worked for Adenza for 3 years selling risk management and investment management solutions to both the buy and sell side all across Wall Street, asset managers, hedge funds, banks, brokers, currency exchanges, etc., etc. And Charles Schwab was one of my clients, so I know my stuff. And then fourthly, we're going to... Did I skip one? And thirdly, we're going to talk about what's to come. So, let's get this shit cracking, because your boy has been moving shit all day, and I am fucking exhausted. All right, so first up, spoofing. We've been over this generally. When I used to do the AMC max pain exercises, I don't know if you guys remember that, but I hit 21 weeks in a row selling covered calls and writing cash secured puts. It's really important that you guys understand that max pain exercise feeds right into what spoofing is, and it's why it's so effective on this stock, because the algorithm pins and the dealers pin this stock to a specific range using spoofing and the algorithmic volume that comes in on both the bid and the ask side to make sure that it hits max pain every single week. Okay, every single Friday is like Christmas morning for dealers. They keep all the money, okay, on both the call and put side to create as much damage and as many losses as possible on the chain. So looking at this really quickly, and I'll just go over this 2 seconds. Right now, if you're looking at it, your max pain is in between $5 and $5 and oh, you can't see it with my fat face in the way. Let me turn my face off. Your max pain is in between 501 and 549. Okay, why? Because you have 9,000 open interest on the put side at 5. So that's basically your floor. Dealers, they want to make sure that those puts don't end up in the money. So they're going to make sure that the stock ends above $5. So those 9,000 open interest and puts get burned. At the same time, running parallel, you have the call side, and the nearest call side volume is at 5.5. 12,811, that's your ceiling, okay? That's your next most amount on the open interest, and on top of the 13,000 that you currently have on the next strike, which is your sixth strike. But they want to make sure that these 12,000 and these 13,000 calls and open interest end out of the money. So the best way to burn both these 9,000 open interest and these 12,000 open interest contracts is to land it in the middle, okay, which is in between 501 and 549. It's as simple as that. And when it comes to spoofing, like what I tweeted last Friday, that you guys had a blast with that tweet, because we have been seeing it for so long and we are so tired of it. It is so unbelievably obvious how this game works at this point. It's been 3 years. We all have the data. There's nothing being, there's nothing hidden anymore, like worth, trying for them to like lie about it, pretend it's organic price action. It's not. Okay. Every single time you look at the level 2, you will see bids come in heavy on the volume side for that day. They'll come in out of nowhere. They'll disappear within a half an hour, right when we get to expiration on that Friday. Okay. They make sure to pin the stock in max pain so dealers make the most money. This shows you that whoever is controlling these spoofing This algorithm that is putting these bids and asks on the tape is also controlling the algorithm that is repeating in sequences that we have been tracking for 2.5 years now. So just remember, when you're looking at a bid-ask spread, your bid, okay, is the price that the buyer who is placing that bid, the highest price that he is willing to purchase that asset for, that security for. On the ask side, it's a seller's price, okay? That's an offer. That is the lowest price that the seller is willing to accept on that transaction, okay? Your mid price is basically the sweet spot where the bid and ask have a harmonious, agreed upon price, and that is why when you are executing, you want to get as close to the mid as humanly possible so you can save some cheddar, okay, on your execution. A lot of brokers, they might not allow you to move it to the mid, or sometimes they offer poor execution, but as often as you can get any price when you're executing closer to that mid price, that's what you want to do, okay? Remember, it can be very confusing. I've had people mess this up. I mean, guys, I'm talking 12 years working in finance in the Wall Street space. I cannot tell you how many 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds still don't know what a bid-ask spread is, okay? When you are looking at a bid-ask spread, the bids are other people's purchase orders. They're limit orders, okay? The asks are other people's offers or sell orders, okay? When you hit the bid, because it's a purchase order, you are selling, okay? When you hit the ask, because it's a sell order, standing there, you are buying, okay? Don't get it confused, okay? The algorithm that controls the repeating fractal that knows where the POIs are also controls the volume that comes in on the bid side, on the ask side, which is used as two magnets to basically contain the price at a specific level into max pain each week, okay? Now that that's done, let's go to the second thing. I want to talk about AMC GME, current structure, and what happened on the January fractal in May. It really is so crazy. The more I look at this chart, the more ridiculous it gets. Like, to know that we have been sitting here, you know, before the May run and the January fractal POI hit, for 244 days of just absolute crap PA. It's amazing. It will never cease to amaze me how far dealers can extend the fractal sequence, right? So BlackRock, you're controlling the algorithm. It has to line up with the narrative of what's going on with the Fed, what's going on with Japan, et cetera, et cetera. But we sat here 244 days and watched this thing just do nothing, bro. This whole time, absolute silence from our kitty friend. So let's talk about the January fractal, okay? Your January fractal is your largest fractal sequence, percentage-wise, in any meme stock or any Mag 7, et cetera, repeating algorithmic sequence. It is your largest move, point blank period. Usually when the January fractal happens, what they like to do is smash down premiums to a level where they are the absolute cheapest before they just rip it out of fucking nowhere, okay? During the June fractal, it's the opposite. It's more of a stair-step type of price action. So you get this because they want to raise the level on you consistently. So when they squeeze it, it's not, you know, that much from the spot that they squeeze it from. It's only 100%. But if you take it all the way from the bottom, I mean, dude, you're talking an 800% run. It's absurd, right? They do this to make you chase the price action going up in stair-step fashion. So your January fractal is the one that you want to catch because that's the one that's going to make you the most money for the cheapest costs, right? With the January fractal, and I want to explain this to you guys. When I was working at Adenza, Charles Schwab was one of our clients. They consistently did not want to onboard new software of any kind, okay? They had their reasons. I can't get into too much detail, but it seemed to me like they were underwater a bit with a lot of losses in their fixed income department. Now, usually when firms don't want to onboard new software, that's pretty much exactly why. They don't have the money to do it, right? They want to stay with their current software, whether it's BlackRock or Murex, which, right, Finastra, which it used to be. So, right, they want to just keep going with the software provider that they have. They want to save on costs. They need to make sure their cash flow is good, their revenues are good, et cetera, et cetera. People aren't getting laid off, things of that nature. So when it comes to moving TD Ameritrade under the acquisition to Schwab. There are a few things we need to go over. Now, I have been consistently adamant about telling you guys for the last few months that Roaring Kitty is absolutely working with BlackRock because there is no other possible way, with the data to back it up, that he knows the exact minute, hour, and day that the POIs are supposed to happen and are going to happen, and tweets revolving around those dates, okay? It is not a coincidence by any stretch of the means that this guy did not tweet for 2.5 years and then came back the day before TD finalized their acquisition with Schwab, okay? He knew that there was going to be short covering during that time. So when that happened, CNBC went on and said, oh, GameStop's running 600% because of a tweet. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was because the POI was in place there, and that is when the algo siphons volume from the dark pools in buying or selling fashion. This time it was buying and injects it into the NYSE, causing this massive explosion in volume on the stock. And this is where shorts were able to get out and cover the shares that they borrowed from TD to short the stock in the first place, okay? So this is my thesis with TD and Schwab and everything that I understand about the inner workings of both companies. TD was lending out shares that they owned of AMC to other hedge funds, asset managers, whoever was actively shorting the stock, okay? When it came time for the counterparty switch to happen from TD into Schwab and merge those together, you guys have to understand that there's a lot of things that go on in the background that you're not aware of with regulatory, compliance, legal, risk, liquidity. The list is endless, okay? So if you are using TD shares and borrowing those that they own of AMC or GameStop, okay, and their counterparty gets switched, and all of a sudden, Schwab is like, you know what? We don't agree with the credit worthiness of your counterparty and the fact that you are borrowing these shares to short this stock too aggressively. Let alone, on top of that, they don't know what collateral you may have posted as a counterparty to go to TD and be like, we want to borrow these shares in order to get the rights to do that. If your collateral is swaps and other like shiesty products that you package into these CLOs, which is reminiscent of the CDOs in 2008, I mean, it's like risk central, dude. Like what happens if those CLOs get devalued and the collateral is no longer worthy? You immediately have to cover those shares. So if I'm Schwab, I mean, there is definitely so much illegal naked shorting going on with AMC and GameStop that I don't want that risk on my books. The counterparty risk assessment and creditworthiness of counterparty A borrowing those shares from TD to short these stocks, I mean, it's like astronomical fucking risk management 101 problems. That's not something that I would want. So that'd be basically the main reason why I would tell them that January fractal POI is coming. We're going to let the lid off. You are going to cover some of these shorts during this period in time, and it's not going to be on the NYSE. It's going to be in a dark pool, so nobody can see it. But that's my best thesis as why they chose to run it the day after. It makes just the most sense. And if you think it was because of a Roaring Kitty tweet, you got your head up your fucking ass. On top of the fact that you have your counterparty risk and your collateral risk, there is also regulatory compliance, like I just mentioned. There may be different procedures that Charles Schwab has that counterparty A at TD that's borrowing shares from TD doesn't associate with. Charles Schwab has a much more strict regulatory compliance nature. I know that for a fact. So that could be it. It could also be liquidity issues, right? Because Charles Schwab is, in having problems with fixed income. The fixed income market is getting shorted to oblivion by hedge funds with an $800 billion short position at this current moment in time. The amount of unrealized losses that they have can be great. They don't want to take on CLOs that have losses as well, maybe in the fixed income department, maybe in the swap department. There's just a lot of different reasons. So now that we've got that out of the way, I just want you guys to understand that there is too much that lines up and makes sense, and why they chose to do the January fractal here early when it should have really, in actuality, and I want to show you guys the timing, it should have ran here. This is when your January fractal should have happened. So you should have saw this. That was the timing. It was perfect timing. So the fact that it ran early and Keith tweeted on the fucking Sunday before the acquirement was finalized tells me that he had inside information to know that it was going to run 600%, and the media was going to piggyback onto that to make all retail and the middle class seem like it was something organic, and because of a tweet. It's really important that you guys lock into the fact that there's so many loopholes. The securities lending market, the swap market, I mean, it's not what you think it is. It's just not. It's not regulated at all. I mean, Gary Gensler does diddly squat on a day-to-day basis. So it is our job to sit here and follow the path, okay? It's our job to sit here and decipher the narrative, decipher the options chain, understand the fundamentals of the company, and understand the sequencing and the timing of when these fractals are going to play out. So let's get into it, because this is the juicy part, and I know this is what you guys have been waiting for all last week, because we're running up into the period when you get to your super macro POI, and those have to be decisively decided on, okay? The election's coming. They're running out of road to extend on the micro and the macro. We have watched them extend 6 micro POIs now. Your macro POI window is the entire month of August. And your last week of August leading into August 27th is your most important micro POI within that macro sequence, because it's the final one. So I don't know if you guys remember what Root looked like before it made its run, but it bobbled in place, I believe, for 7 months before it dipped at the end of the sequence and then made a 1700% blast. That is how I think this is going to play out, okay? So I'm going to give you guys the 3 potential scenarios that AMC and GME are going to make their moves. And it can play out exactly like one of these 3 scenarios or minor shades of each, but there is only 3 thesis narratives on how they get this stock to run the beginning of the June fractal, which is the launch pad, and then June itself into your higher price targets that we've talked about before multiple times now on Twitter. So here's scenario number 1. And this is the scenario that I believe is most likely. This is exactly how I think it is going to play out with the highest likelihood and probability, okay? The August window, that macro window POIs, okay? There has been about 8 micro POIs, and August 27th is your final one in the month of August, okay? I do not believe for a second that POI is going to play out to the upside. Now, this is so important. If you guys remember, the CAT system comes, I believe, fully integrated on August 26th, which is the day before of your last micro POI. So if they do run it to 8 on August 27th, I mean, they run it to 8 and they use the CAT implementation as the excuse, right? I think everyone is thinking that's what's going to happen, and that's going to be your bait. They're going to play that POI to the inverse, drop you down to your $3.95, $4, $4.25 demand liquid zone by the end of that date, and then that's when you begin your markup. So I'm going to sit here and basically wait. I mean, I loaded up, everyone loaded up during this whole accumulation phase in between phase D and phase E of this accumulation blow off top. But I'm going to wait specifically for that spring to see if we can grab a couple contracts at extremely low price before our first move to 8, because the move to 8's big. It's not a small fucking move, guys. I mean, you're talking, you have that spring, you're talking 100% move. That's big time money. After you get that run to 8, you're going to have to retrace before you load up for your next run. And if you guys know that FOMC week and Vixpiration and OPEX is all basically the same week. It is in between the 18th of September and the 20th. All those 3 things happen at once. So they're not going to want a lot of action happening during that week. So they're going to retrace it during that week. And they're going to move it up to the next level on your micro June fractal, which is going to be your macro June fractal, which is going to take you to 22 by September 27th. That's how I would do it, okay? You fake the POI at the end of the month, thinking the CAT system is your reason. You drop it, you run it to 8, you retrace it, and then you stair step us up into 22 by the end of the month after OPEX is cleared out, after the Fed is done talking about rate cuts, et cetera, et cetera. One more time for the kids at home. Dip, run to 8, retrace to 550, 22 by the end of September. Okay, that's scenario number 1. Scenario 2 is more straightforward, and just what I said kind of at the beginning of the video It is this exact same schematic. The only difference is that you run to 8 at the end of the month. So end of August, they run it back, they bobble it, right? And then you have your blow off top to 22 at the end of the month. And scenario 3, which I think now is actually least likely, is going to be a 3-stage run. Jan, June, all in the micro, very quick, all within a basically 2-week time. So that's going to look something like this, which is going to be run to 8, end of the month, retrace, run to 13, okay, by the middle of September, 10th, 13th, around that range where your next POI is, retrace again, and then blow off top to 22, okay? The reason for that second run would be to make you think that the run is over. So they want to break this supply zone and fake that 14 is the actual high when it's actually not, and it's going to make another leg up towards the end of the month. So, I mean, that's really it. It could be a combination of, you know, that and the dip in the first scenario. Like it could go like this as well. Dip first, run to 8, run to 14, run to 22. It could go just like that. And I don't care which scenario plays out. It doesn't matter. But this is the part where you guys need to strike, okay? You cannot be buying weeklies in anticipation of trying to nail all 3 runs or all 2 runs. It doesn't have to be rocket science. Like, they're handing you this layup with a solid small cap rally blow off top. You know, it can't be any more straightforward. This information, guys, is life-changing information. You should be taking it extremely serious. Do not be full porting accounts. Do not over leverage. You don't need a lot of money to make money on what is going to be a 400% move, right? It's not that complex. And for GameStop, it's the exact same thing, okay? It's first a run to 40, retrace, run to 100, maybe small retrace, blow off top to 140. Or it's just 40 and then 140, right? It's 2 runs or it's 3 runs back to back fast. It doesn't matter. Put in a call spread, put in multiple strikes, put in further out expirations, and nail this motherfucker, all right? For once, take back what is yours. You have the tools here. We cracked this fucking thing. We know exactly where it's going. It is going to make this run, okay? This is the run of a fucking lifetime. Are you going to get some Mo-ass bullshit? No, it's a complete fucking lie, and anyone peddling that shit is an immediate unfollow. Immediate unfollow, because those are the people that are misleading you. The people that aren't educated, that don't have this type of background, that don't do this every single day and eat, sleep, and breathe the global market, currency, fixed income, equities. Like, this is my life. It's all I fucking do, okay? I want you guys to hit it. I want you to make money. Hit it and make fucking money. Any questions you got? Hit me in the chat.